Hey everybody, I am Jennifer Dye. I am the Director of Innovation at Pope John Paul II High School in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I'm super excited to be talking to you today about social entrepreneurship. It's a really interesting path that I've taken to get here. I come out of the sciences, but have had the opportunity as the Director of Innovation to help launch some of our entrepreneurial programs. And I'm excited to get you guys interested in entrepreneurship as well, especially social entrepreneurship, because it really does allow our students to make an impact and really engage with their learning. So the first thing I wanted us to do is get into the chat feature, and I want you guys to tell me a little bit about what you think social entrepreneurship is. It's a hard word to spell and sometimes a hard word maybe to understand. So let's just talk about what entrepreneurship is. And I'm actually not seeing many chats right now, so. So I think we are going to go ahead and, because I'm not sure about our chat feature and if it's completely working right now. So we're going to go ahead and move on, and we'll come back to it. And my students will actually tell you their experience with entrepreneurship as well. So I want to start by looking at our project path and how we move through our programs. So in our program, we actually do use project-based learning. In most of our classes, we have both business entrepreneurial classes and social entrepreneurship classes. But we use design thinking across our school as well. So you're going to hear me flip kind of back and forth between project-based learning and design thinking as well. So I wasn't quite sure the familiarity that everyone would have with either of those two processes. So I just wanted to walk you through kind of how the process builds. I was excited today. Natalie Nixon is one of my favorites. I really enjoy, if you haven't read her book or listened to her book, I would highly encourage it, because I really gravitated towards the idea that curiosity really has to be at the foundation. So we very quickly move to this idea of innovation, but we forget about the curiosity aspect. And so with each of our projects, we always start with some type of launch event, some type of thing that's going to get our kids very interested. And with social entrepreneurship, that's going to really be getting into the community, engaging with the people, so that we can get a feel for what some of the problems might be. After we immerse our students in those ideas, and I'll go through all the details of that in just a few minutes, we really work to build understanding. And that understanding has two components. It has an empathy component and a definition of the problem. So really diving in, figuring out what all of our parameters are, but also understanding who we are trying to serve, who we're trying to develop a solution for, really is very, very important. So then after we've really built that understanding, then our goal is to really develop the solution. So our develop and critique really is very solution oriented. For us, it could include a product, or it could include a model of a solution. And for entrepreneurship, that model of a solution is actually a business plan. And so we're going to look at using a lean canvas model as a great way to have your students really test and refine in order to find that solution. And it can really involve a lot more discussion and a lot more research as we go along the way. The final part that I really think is important is that it has to be public. We have to bring our solutions to an endpoint. And that endpoint doesn't need to just be in a folder on their Google Drive, turned into Google Classroom, but actually something that gets them out into the community and really making an impact. So the deployment piece is really one of the most important pieces. So my students are really focused on partnering with an organization. And if you're going to do social entrepreneurship, I really think the model of finding a partner in your community really can be a great opportunity to develop solutions to your potential problems, because they already are going to have an organization, a context in which to work in. Now, our organization is Haiti 180. We are a Catholic school, but I don't want you to be predisposed to thinking that this would not be possible in other schools as well, because there are lots of non-religious organizations, community impactful organizations that you could work with as well, that are going to be meaningful to your students. Our students just happen to have experienced a mission trip, and after that mission trip, we're really wanting and needing to find solutions that they could continue helping after they return back. But I think the key thing that all of these have in common is that it needs to be immersive. Having your students experience, whether that is going out and seeing the stream and seeing the needs in the stream that may be behind your school, and working on solutions to how to improve the health and quality of that stream within your science class or STEM classes, or partnering with an organization that maybe helps serve the homeless. Yeah, it's the idea of having our students immersed in that. So I'm going to introduce a video from Sean Forrest, who is the director of Haiti 180. And he is going to talk a little bit about the partnership that JP2 has with his organization.
Hi, I'm Sean Forrest of Haiti 180. Our mission is to create future leaders of faith for the country of Haiti by helping the poor, the lost, the lonely, creating education, helping the elderly with nursing homes, creating housing for those who are struggling to put a roof over their head and don't have a roof over their head, and through healthcare, helping the 2,000 people in the surrounding villages up in our area.
So one of the things I want everyone to understand is a little bit about how we developed our partnership and the impact that that's made. Because I'm going to talk to them about the impact it's made on our students, which has been significant. Yeah. But what kind of impact has it made on your community?
Right. Well, it's we've become a symbiotic relationship with JP2 here. The missionaries came down, and the beautiful thing about this group is they brought Haiti home with them. They're like, there's some problems there. So they decided to get together and say, how can we work on this when we go back down, help? They see a problem and they fix a problem, see a need, fill a need. So on our side and with the Haitians, it's pretty beautiful for them to go, wow, they came down, but they didn't forget about us. They still want to help us. They want to build a relationship with us. So we're working on helping them make better fires that use less energy. And now in the process of helping them with their crops. So their nutrients don't run out of their farmlands after 3 or 4 generations of their food. And that's just an indescribable benefit for somebody who, after 3 seasons, walking basically in sand. So, and also rain and water collection with things that aren't too difficult to do, just some basic engineering with things they already have there. So through this joint venture, JP2 Haiti Love Program is helping to empower the people of Haiti to use what they have right at their own means and put it to amazing use for them and their families.
So one of the things that they're going to try to take out of this workshop is like, how do they go and make this happen? So not everybody's going to travel to Haiti and do that kind of thing, but how could you make this happen where you are? Like, how would that be possible?
Do you mean somebody watching this?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that.
How do you partner with? Like, our relationship happened because we travel on mission. Right. Are there ways that you could imagine that people could partner
with other organizations around the world? I think it takes that one key person to reach out and start a contact and say, hey, I want to help. It's a wonderful thing when you're running an organization like this and somebody says, hey, what can we do to help? And we have resources. And that's the most important thing, is to make the contact and ask the important questions, because they're going to have needs. And their bandwidth gets spread so thin when 1 or 2 or 3 people are doing all the work. But then all of a sudden, when you've got an army behind you and taking on these little projects, it's a huge sigh of relief for people who run these nonprofit organizations. So make the contact, call, and you sit down. And then the great thing is if 1 or 2 of you can go and you see, because once you go and you see and experience it, that's when you fall in love. When you see the faces of the people and you hear their voices, that's when your heart usually gets captivated, and that's when the commitment really happens, like we've got going on here.
All right, so that leads right into kind of our next idea, and that is, how do we start this process? So if you are familiar with the design thinking process, which is behind me, right? The first idea is that we really need to empathize. So we need to develop empathy. So we're going to get the presentation back up again. And so empathizing really means to set aside your own assumptions, which is very hard to do. And so I have provided for you guys some tools, and those are also going to be provided for you in PDF form, so that you can use those in your own classroom however you need to, and not have to recreate these kinds of things. So we're going to set aside our own assumptions and really step back and try to see the need of the person that we are developing a solution for. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. There we go. This tool is actually going to allow you to be able, it's called our empathy map. And so students oftentimes have a hard time figuring out kind of what questions do they need to ask when they are talking to the person who is having need, or if they're doing an observation and just trying to assess what needs might be within that area, stepping back and really being able to look at it. And this was one of the big challenges for our students. We walked into a third world country, which was very different from the experience that our students have on a daily basis. So being able to empathize for our kids meant having to let go of their preconceived notions of how things worked and how things happen, and really stopping and looking at the situation of the people and then how they might perceive. So our big rule is sustainability. We have to be able to provide assistance and provide solutions that are going to leave the people better when we're not there, than to develop a solution that may actually be a detriment. There would be something that would happen that would cause a change in culture, cause a change in need, because they become dependent on something that we've provided. So stepping back and really understanding allows them to understand that sustainability aspect as well. So things like, who are we empathizing with and what challenges do they face, are kind of the basic ideas, but then diving in even deeper. What are the things that they're experiencing within the community? What are they seeing? What are they saying? What are they hearing? Do they have fears and anxieties? Do they have hopes and dreams, which are really important? Like when they are dreaming about their futures, if we're talking about the younger people that we are working with, what are their hopes? What do they want to do? What do they want to go be? And what's really amazing is that is a piece that really is pretty similar between our groups. The hopes and dreams are pretty much the same. And then what are they doing to develop solutions? Because our solutions don't need to be contrary to the solutions that they have potentially in place. They need to work side by side. We need to support them in the ways that they are developing solutions. So I really have my students then stop and think about that as data. So stepping back from the situation, because it is very personal, for just a minute and really looking at it as pieces of data. So we're looking at this as a point of view, right? So taking it and then putting it into kind of categories. So this is called a point of view list, and it can really help taking all of the information that you got in an interview and then being able to make inferences after that process is over. And it's three kind of big columns and categories. The first is that we describe the problem, and we're going to use lots of adjectives in this situation. And then the second piece is going to start with a verb. So it's they need a way to, and then kind of finish that thought. And the final is going to include more than likely kind of a hidden insight. And this is where we have to kind of begin to draw some conclusions. So it's because, and whatever that is going to be. So a point of view statement might look like this. Farmers in Haiti need a way to improve their soil because they're not able to grow crops for enough food to support their family. So that idea of taking their full ideas and really piecing them together into a coherent potential solution really matters. It also is important because it's very much centered on the person. It has empathy embedded within it because it is coming from the observations and the interviewing that has been done during that process. The next piece our students do after they've gotten their general idea is that they're really going to then start to dive down and define what it is that is the problem. So we know that farmers in Haiti need food, or medical care is not very good, and that they need better supply systems, or there's lots of deforestation because their only source of fuel is trees and they're on an island, and then that causes pollution. So we have the bigger ideas, but then really stopping and defining down those things forces them to set aside their assumptions pretty quickly. So this is just we just go as quickly as we can and find, the goal is to just gather statistics. And so I provide for them websites that, or resources that I know are going to be very kind of statistic heavy. They're going to have a lot of data driven behind them. They're going to be quality sources. There's not going to be a lot of assumptions that are going to be embedded within it. But they really are more data driven. So that's where that factor statistic, and they're going to go gather as many things as they can. And in our class, we start with lots of different ideas, and then we work to kind of define and narrow down the projects that we're actually going to work on. So once we've kind of narrowed it down just a little bit, not perfect yet, we go with that factor statistic. But then here's the different piece. We're going to look at how does that impact the people that we are trying to develop a solution for. So what is the impact that that's going to have? And then they're just going to tell me what the source is going to be. But lots and lots of information. And then what they do with that is they take these data sets as a group. So each group is working on collecting and gathering their data and their information. And then they'll work then together. So individually, they've been doing that. They'll then work it together, put that information on Post-it notes. And what's really, really cool is we have categories almost every year: healthcare, economics, agriculture, education. There are big idea categories. And so they'll gather information within those. And then my challenge to them, so I have black lab tables and I've gotten chalk markers. They put those statistics and facts on Post-it notes, and we do a round robin where they lay these ideas down. And then they've got to figure out, once another idea gets laid down, if it's connected to their idea, if it's impacting another idea, they draw arrows between them. And what happens is pretty quickly, they realize that problems do not occur in isolation. They actually occur and kind of domino down. So if one piece isn't working very well, so if healthcare isn't working very well, prenatal care for moms, for example, that's going to have a big, long impact on economics, on education, all of those kinds of things. It could be caused because of infrastructure problems. So we're looking at kind of this idea of cause and effect, and that when we're thinking about potential solutions, we cannot think about them solely in isolation with each other. We have to think about them within the context of all of the other potential problems that are happening, which I think is really critical, because our students do need to see that it's not a simple fix. When we're talking about social entrepreneurship, we cannot think that one solution is going to fix that problem necessarily, because there may be lots of other variables that are impacting that potential that problem that we're trying to solve. So we have to really spend some time working around that. So I'm going to show you a second video, and in this video, it was filmed pre-COVID. I'll tell you that. It was actually filmed 2 weeks before we were dismissed. So this was kind of at the beginning of our Haiti Love class, and then as you all know, we left and we never came back again. So these students have their ideas. Their task is to narrow down their big ideas. So they've seen the connections. Now it's taking their big ideas and potential solutions and beginning to narrow them down and identify things that we potentially could impact in our class and take to Haiti when we go. So these groups were decided, what you're going to see is as a group, and they've decided, there are several groups there, they've decided to take their list of ideas and try to check them off and eliminate the ones that they don't think are good. And you're gonna see that there are some stronger students, and they start out thinking, oh, well, we're just gonna eliminate that one, but then they come back around in the conversation. So let's watch that clip.
I say go with that one too.
And water supply.
Check gangs.
Oh, healthcare too.
You know, just check all.
Food supply, we already agreed on that too, so.
Go ahead and just give one that.
Education, agreed on that. Check.
See, I don't.
We can only
check.
pick 6.
So like, what I'm thinking is like,
Check.
we didn't put education. But
Y'all
like,
put education.
Yes,
it's
we
right
did.
there.
that's not our board. That's our board.
Oh
This is
my
ours.
God. Why'd you been hiding
Housing,
it this
homes
whole
go
time?
together.
Well, you have 6 points.
I say housing.
You're only supposed to have 6,
go with
not
the
12.
medical.
So, like,
we went above and beyond.
Bad healthcare
It goes
slash.
with supplies.
Don't forget to check.
This one, I'm just not feeling it. I mean,
Unemployment.
maybe, but maybe let's ask the whole group.
I think we're gonna have to
Unemployment.
reach out.
Dude, that is
Unemployment's such a big one, yeah.
yeah, because of the unemployed
But like
people.
the supplies for after is important.
But it's not the most important. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right. So how do we get then our students who are maybe a little more reticent, a little quieter, to have their voice heard in those conversations? So we're going to go back to the presentation. And I think reflection is absolutely critical, and for several reasons. First of all, reflection is going to allow that student who maybe isn't quite as vocal an opportunity to express their ideas. And so in that next opportunity to have discussion, when it's a larger group, I'm sorry, guys, I am at school, so there are announcements.
Good morning, faculty.
I'm so sorry about that. It is end of year here and they're having a luncheon, so they were making an announcement. It was either good Wi-Fi at school or announcements potentially. So my apologies. Reflection is really important to bring that student into that conversation. The other reason why reflection is important as well is that it's going to allow the students think time. So empathy is still forming at this point. Still, I use reflection all along the way, but we really want the students to begin to do these individual reflections that might not be expressed in those fast-paced situations that you just watched. So if you think about it, there are kind of two ways of thinking. You can think really quickly, which is incredibly important, because thinking quickly, especially for the next phase we're going to talk about, is important because it's going to allow the students to really toss out crazy ideas that might not work, but may actually lead to a potential solution down along the way. So fast thinking is really important, but slow thinking is important because it's going to allow the students time to really begin to connect those ideas. And also for their social emotional, it's going to allow them to really reflect on kind of their feelings about it, how they see themselves being able to make that impact, which is, I think, important, because classes like social entrepreneurship, while we are focusing on impacting others, really allows us to have insight about ourselves. So how do we see ourselves in the context of the world? Are we able to make a difference? Are we able to help? And providing our students the opportunity to reflect on that is really critical for their social emotional growth. So I use a Google form in order to do this, and things like, how has your thinking changed? Do others share your ideas? How are they similar? How are they different? What are your biggest challenges, and why are they your biggest challenges? And being able to look at the insight that students provide actually is very important. So I would say reflect often, reflect individually. These are often my end of class checkout processes. Is, okay, you have a 3-minute Google form question that we're going to use as our checkout as we exit the class. So the next piece is the ideate process. And this is where we're going to propose potential solutions. And we really want to be able to think outside the box. If you heard Natalie Nixon this morning, one of my favorite things is before you can think outside the box, you actually have to define the box. So that definition of the box we've already done. Hopefully, when we've looked at solutions that have already been potentially proposed and how those are already making an impact. So crazy ideas matter, and not shutting down the kind of generation of crazy ideas is tough as a teacher, because we really want our classes to be focused and streamlined and stay on topic. But sometimes that thing that seems like it may be really out there and off topic, if you really stop and start asking questions, it has a really good solid core to it sometimes, and can lead maybe not to what they were proposing, but to a really good alternative solution. So being open and having your students open to crazy ideas actually matters. And culture in a class that is doing project-based learning, design thinking, and especially in social entrepreneurship, matters. So providing students opportunity, sometimes if you have very loud voices, doing things like silent discussions where people have pens or Post-it notes and they are adding and contributing and modifying thinking as it's developing. So sometimes students are just much more willing to engage in that way. And also working on listening strategies matters too. So if you aren't familiar, I'm not going to spend much time on this because of the limited time of our session, but if you're not familiar, I would encourage you to look at some of the tuning protocols and other protocols that are used in project-based learning, where it really helps the students in not only presenting their ideas, but listening to the feedback of others. So training them that when you're hearing feedback, that feedback is actually good and beneficial to them rather than being critical and negative. And that's a big brain shift for some of our students. So I would encourage you to look into some of the tuning protocols as well. So then we get to they've ideated, they've thought of their potential solutions. Now we're going to prototype. So this is a working model. And in social entrepreneurship, sometimes it involves an actual physical prototype where we're going to try to engineer and design something physical or a process that is physical. Other times it's more of a business model. And I'm going to kind of take you through a couple of examples from my own class of working prototypes that my students have put together. The first one I'm going to talk about is one of my groups. Actually, I've had several groups along the way who've been really concerned about sustainable agriculture. On an island, it's difficult. You can't really buy fertilizers, and it's more of a jungle type of environment. So once the trees are gone, there's nothing really going back into the soil again. And one of the main crops is corn, which uses up much of the nitrogen. So after 2 or 3 seasons, the fields really don't produce much at all. So the students are working on using compost in order to be able to amend the soil. One of the biggest challenges I've had, though, is that many of my students have no idea about gardening. And so it has taken a while for them to be able to understand kind of where nutrients come from. I mean, we do it in science classes, and they're great students, but they don't necessarily understand physically how that works. So getting them into a garden has really mattered. So we set up raised bed gardens and a composting pile, and allowed them to prototype their potential solution that will be used in training the farmers in Haiti. The cool part of this is when you make it public, so our students then were super proud, and they gathered up all the lettuce and they shared it with the teachers in the school, and there was a social media post that happened about that. One of the local nurseries in our area then commented on our post and are like, how do we get involved? Let us come help you. So very quickly, it's gone from just us helping to now a greater network of people within our community being able to support our social enterprise that we're working through. If it's a business model, I would encourage you, and I've provided a template for this as well, to look at using something called a lean canvas. A lean canvas is a way to look at businesses, and it takes you through all the different kind of thoughts. So how is your idea different from somebody else? So what is your unique proposition that you're going to have? What is your advantage over others? Who are the people that are going to be using it? Who are the people who are going to be implementing it? How much is it going to cost? So really thinking through those things takes it from a general idea to a much more specific idea. And my students are going to talk about that in just a second. And then finally, it's testing the prototype. So when taking it, making sure it works, whether it's, for us, it's the garden or or our rocket stove. It really is trying it out. So these are students who wanted to try to find a solution to reducing the amount of wood that it took to cook food, because they cook over large campfires. It causes a lot of pollution. They're using charcoal, which means they have to deforest in order to create the charcoal. And so they developed this thing, found a prototype of a rocket stove. They built it on our campus, tested it. And then the picture that you see on the right is actually in Haiti when our students helped build the rocket stove, and the Haitians were testing it. They're like, does this really work? And it did. It boiled water in about 5 minutes after the time we got the stove started, which was much more rapid than they would have had it over a regular stove. So we're now working on getting the bricks and things to people up into the mountainous areas so that they can build rocket stoves as well. So I want to introduce you to 3 of my students who designed a project called Hospitals Helping Haiti. Their goal is to reduce landfill waste here by helping hospitals in our area connect to the hospitals in Haiti. And so they designed a lean canvas model and actually were able to pitch it to, I would have been very intimidated, to all of the chief officers at our local hospital. And they actually are going to be launching their business through our class. So my students will be their workers, but they're still going to be kind of running it. And so we're going to watch just a couple of minutes of that video, and that'll be one of our last things.
I thought it was pretty cool just like trying this out and like having the experience to like get to like present our project and our plan to like someone bigger than like anyone here and someone that didn't know us at all. So I thought that was cool.
I liked partnering with actual hospitals and talking with people to actually implement a plan and do something, because when we first came up with the idea, I didn't know how feasible it was or if it was something that we would ever actually be able to do. But it's real, and I think that that's really interesting, and not a lot of people can say that they've done something like this.
And I just really like the effect it's going to have on the people of Haiti, because that's a really big thing to me, so I'm really happy that we get to do that for them.
The research was also talking to people, like hospitals, people around our community, us in general, and also like talking to people in Haiti. So it's impacting a lot of people here. Like I would say it's making a personal impact on each of us, showing us more and learning more, and also making an impact on Haiti for them to see that they do want help and they need it, and that they can get it if we try hard enough. And I think it's just a good thing that we're at least trying and we're impacting people all around.
It's gonna have a huge impact on so many people.
Locally, globally.
I feel like we had a problem in terms of making an actual business model, seeing as none of us knew how to do that. And there's a lot of things that you can have an idea about, but it's a whole different matter to actually put it into place and do it. So I feel like realizing a lot of the ideas we had, like storage, transportation, all of those things, I feel that actually taking our idea and turning it into a real thing was the best part and also the biggest roadblock we faced.
So I think it will help us realize like the amount of work that goes into like all these businesses and even organizations that we like oftentimes look up to, especially going into college. I think it'll help us to maybe like figure out what we want to do and like work through it and like time manage a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it shows us like the process we have to go through for things.
All right. So I'm excited that you guys are here today. And if you have any questions, I think the last slide has my contact information on it. And all of the resources that were in the presentation are also available for you as well. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now in the chat. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here. Enjoy the rest of your conference, and I just want to encourage you to consider using entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship to allow your students to really impact others within your community. Thank you.